bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Basement Gun Shop. Today we're gonna pick up where we left off 2 episodes ago. We had an intro to reloading and reloading equipment. We had reloading pistol ammunition. Now we're going to start with rifles. So for today, considering the last episode was differences all about AR-15s, piston-driven versus direct impingement or gas-operated, today we're going to load up some 5.56. There are a couple extra steps when you're reloading for a rifle. For starters, you have to resize and deprime the brass just like you did with pistol ammunition. But then you have to trim your brass. And then of course after you trim your brass you're going to have to chamfer and deburr it. You may have to cut the primer pockets if it has a military style crimp. And you're going to clean out the primer pockets as well. My assistant is sitting on the steps telling me that episode 5, the differences between AR, is upstairs and it's 90% done compiling. So my boy Daniel, my girlfriend's oldest son, like I said in the last episode, my #1 guy, my shooting buddy. He's also the executive producer of the Basement Gun Shop, which means he gets to pay the bills. Okay, so one thing I want to stress about reloading rifle is the brass stretches ridiculously. And to drive that point home, what I want to do, I have 5.56 cases right here. So we're going to take one of them and measure it. No, don't want that one. I know for a fact there's one in here that's over the max case length because it was the first one I grabbed and the first one I measured. 1760. I think there's one that's actually longer than that. Here's 17625. 17625. 1767. 1.767 inches. So we're going to put that one right in the #1 slot. Now the only reason I'm measuring the brass before I resize it is just to show you, so I can give you numbers as to how much the brass stretches when you resize it. Let's whip out our trusty Hornady manual right here. Let me step in, keep it in the light so you can see it. Hopefully you can read right there. Max case length 1.76 inches. So that's the number you're working with. Case trim length 1.75 inches. So you got to knock 1/100 of an inch off from the max case length to the case trim length. So now that we have those numbers, I'm just going to set this book over here so we have it as an easy reference. We have it readily available to us. And let's get down to the actual work. So remember, 1.767 inches on that first case. I already have the resize and deprime die in the press right here behind me. We pop our lube pad open. It's a little dry because I haven't done any rifle in about a month. Because I'm in Pennsylvania, and if anybody knows anything about the weather right now, which seems to be the hottest topic on the face of the planet, it's been frickin' cold up here and snowy, and it's just miserable. So we're going to drop a little bit of lube on the pad. because seeing as how we're only doing 5 cases with this episode, we're not going to need much. In fact, I probably put too much on the pad, but oh well. Now we're just going to smush that around, rub it in. So remember, this case is at 1.767 inches. We're gonna get a little lube on there. Oh, where's my primer cup? There it is. We'll put the primer cup on the press, and we're gonna cut the camera, and we're gonna move it over here to my left so you can see exactly what we're doing when we resize the brass, just like we did with pistol reloading. Alright, so we move the camera back. You can see the case in the press. We're just going to run it through the die. I already have this die set. You set this die just like you did, just like I did in episode, I guess it was 3, where we actually did some pistol reloading. So we're just going to run that through just like that. So we were at 1.767 inches before we resize this case. Now we're at 1.77 even. So this case stretched 0.03 of an inch just by running it through the press. Your max case length is 176, so we're 1/100 of an inch over the max case length. So we're going to set that back in the block right there. We're going to grab these other 4 cases real quick. I love having a concrete floor in my basement. I can just drop a cigarette on it, let it go out, pick it up later. So we'll run these other 4 cases across the pad, and we'll resize them real quick. Alright, so we've got them resized and deprimed. So now they need to be cleaned up. Unfortunately, they're kind of gunky with lube. You said lube. Well, deal with it. That's exactly what it is. So they're kind of gunky with lube. I'm just going to grab a rag, wipe them off a little bit. Normally what I'll do with these is I'll soak them in hot water for 5 or 10 minutes, drain them, and let them dry overnight, at least overnight, to make sure, depending on how cold it is down here, depending on how much water's inside them, but I will soak them in water just to dissolve the lube because it is water soluble. And that way there's no traces. But for the sake of shooting the video, I'm just going to wipe them off. With some shop rags I have laying around. This is probably a t-shirt I wore in junior high. I don't know. There's a pocket on it. It ain't mine. I don't know where it came from. Whatever. Okay, so they're all wiped off. Now we go to case trimming. We already know it's over length. I'm going to reset the camera to the other angle so you can see the case trimmer that I already have set up on the bench here. And then we'll move on. All right, so we got everything repositioned, more or less. One of the things that I found helpful, and this is, you know, a lot of experience. One of the things that I decided to do was make a template case for my case trimmer. Basically what I did was I took a once fired piece of brass, put it in the case trimmer, trimmed it down to the proper length, and then stopped, marked it with a piece of tape. That way, all I have to do is loosen up the collar on my case trimmer, put my template case into the case trimmer, put the cutter head down on it when it touches, then lock the collar down at that point, and I'm good for whatever caliber I'm reloading or trimming at the time. I have template cases for 5.56, 308, 30-06, 7mm Remington Magnum, 35 Remington, 444 Marlin, a number of different calibers, but it's immaterial. I keep my templates sitting right up here in the groove for the doors on the tool cabinet on the wall. And that way when I go to use them, I'm right there, or they're right there for me. So I'm going to move the camera, I'm going to zoom in on the case trimmer. So you can see the template case for 5.56 in the case trimmer. I'll take the cutter head, put that in there, lock the case down, turn it, and take a close look, and I can see that the cutter head is resting on the case mount. That way I know the case trimmer is set properly. At that point, if I had to change it, I could loosen these two set screws up, turn the case, move the collar, do whatever I needed to do to lock it in place so that I could continue with trimming the cases. So we're going to take the template case, we're going to put it back up here, we're going to grab one of these, slap it in there, lock it down, and trim the brass. Now this was the 177. That was a full 100th of an inch over the max case length. Now, I turn my calipers on, roll them out, I am at 1.751 and 5/10,000ths, or 1.7515. So I'm a 10/15,000ths of an inch over the case trim length, which is right where I want to be. In fact, if you look at my template case, it says 1752 on it. So I'm trimming right where I want to be for 5.56. So we'll run the other ones through here real quick. And because I'm zoomed in, you can probably see the little spirals of brass coming off the case. At least I hope you can. And this is the most time-consuming part of trimming, of reloading for a rifle, is just the case prep time that has to go into it. So there we have all 5 cases trimmed. We'll turn the calipers on, we'll check that last one. And we're at 1.752 on the nose on that last one. So we're good. Now we need to, and I'm going to zoom in on those cases just to see if you can see the burrs on the lip. I don't know if you'll be able to. It might not focus properly. If you look right here, can you see where that's catching? You can see the burr, the trimming it raises on the brass. So now you need to chamfer and deburr the case. So give me a minute to zoom out, reposition the camera, and we'll be right back. Alright, so we got everything repositioned. I got my Lyman case prep station out. It already has a small primer pocket cutter, the primer pocket scraper, the case brush, inside chamfer tool, outside deburr tool. At this point, it's just turn it on, grab 5 cases, nice clean pocket, cut the inside, cut the outside, and that burr is gone. The primer pocket's nice and clean. I hope you can see in there. I don't know if you can, but I hope you can. And we set that off to the side. And then we just run right down the line through all the cases. After I do each case mouth, I like to check just to make sure, just run them through my fingers and make sure that everything's gone, it's all nice and smooth. There's no burrs. And if you want, you can always run that down just like that to scrub any garbage that's left in the case. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. It depends on how the cases look when they come out of the tumbler. I've already checked these over. They really didn't need it. But, you know, if you feel it, that's fine. And then, of course, this does come with a little paintbrush so you can get all the brass shavings off the tool heads. And just use it like a little sweeper and sweep it into the cup here. And then take the cup to the garbage and throw it away. Like I said, this thing is awesome. If I had to do this manually, you would have to take a tool, uniform the pocket, then grab another tool, do the inside, flip the tool around, do the outside, and then move on to the next one. So that is basically, let's do this. There we go. Turn that over that way. That's basically case prep in a nutshell. Usually when I do this, I will have several hundred cases all lined up, they're already through the tumbler and they're all ready to be reloaded. And it doesn't matter whether I'm doing pistol or rifle. I tend to prep my brass ahead of time so I can come down here and have a nice adult beverage. Newcastle Brown Ale is my preference. Just set my adult beverage right there and just go to town. Resize, deprime, resize, deprime, resize, deprime. Go clean the cases up, trim the cases, run them through this, set them out, let them dry overnight if I'm doing rifle. Or if I'm doing pistol, just resize, deprime for, 2 or 3 hours. That way, if I decide I'm going to come down here and load 100 rounds, I've got a large bin of prepped brass. At this point, I'm running a little low at 223, but, that's all prepped 223, ready for primers and powder and everything else. So I can take these 5 cases, just toss them in the bin, and they're ready to go. I've got a bin like that for pretty much everything I reload. 9mm, 38, 357, 45, 40 S&W, 10mm. Although 40 S&W and 10mm, I'm just building my stockpile of brass, to be honest. 44 mag, 30-06, 7mm Rem mag, whatever you're reloading. You can pick up Tupperware containers at your local Walmart for $5 a piece, and that keeps pretty much all the dirt and dust out of them. My basement, unfortunately, is pretty dirty because I heat my house in hot water with coal, so that does create a certain amount of dust. In fact, the big blue box just behind me, that's actually my furnace. So, take it for what it's worth. If you're gonna reload, you're gonna be serious about shooting, then you're gonna end up with a stockpile of brass. You need somewhere to keep it. This is just what I found to be the quickest, most expedient route to storing brass and to have a stockpile of prep brass ready for reloading. And when I say prep brass, I mean resized, deprimed, cleaned, deburred, chamfered, primer pockets uniformed, depending on whether it's rifle or pistol. Okay? So that's pretty much it as far as prepping the brass. So we'll move on to priming the brass, which is going to be the same exact thing as we did in the first reloading, or the segment where we actually reloaded some pistol ammunition. I used the Lee Auto Prime XR, just bink, 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 one at a time, boom, 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 set them in the loading block, charge the case, and go on from there. Charge the case, seat the bullet, crimp the bullet, done deal. I'm not going to go through setting the dies again because we already went through that. And setting your seat and crimp die on a rifle is the same as setting your seat and crimp die on a pistol. You're still doing 2 operations with 1 die. The biggest thing you'll notice about this is here's the resizing die to resize and deprime. Here's the set of dies, and you're right. There's only 2 dies for rifle. Rifles do not have a neck expander die like pistols do. Unless it's a straight wall cartridge. 444 Marlin is a 3 set, but you can also get a pistol chambered for 444 Marlin. Just, you know what? Do a Google search for images of a 444 Marlin round, and hopefully you'll find one sitting next to like a 44 Magnum and a 357 Magnum. It's a monster. I shot one once in a Thompson Center contender, and it was pretty cool. So let's move on, and I'm going to clean off the bench, get the trimmer and the Lyman case prep station. We'll get that off the bench. We'll get the priming stuff out here, the powder measurer, the bullet heads, and we'll get going. Okay? So give me just a minute, and we'll be right back.